which is test plan, right? So by default, we will be having a test plan in Jmeter. Test plan is a kind of project, right? As we have already understood, right? So this test plan contains multiple elements. It shows the header of the element, and name is an input field, comments is input field, and here we have something called user defined variables and some other options we have. So let's try to understand one by one, right? So let's start with the test plan. Okay, so this is how the test plan looks like, right? So test plan contains some set of configuration elements like name, comments, user defined variables, and we have some options related to how to execute the thread groups and stop something after testing, and whether we need to store the request response specific to functional mode. Yeah, let's double click one by one and we'll try to understand. So the first one we have is the name and the comments. So name is up to us, like whatever the name we want, we can name it, right? So this is the default name. This is the name I have given when I was recording through BlazeMeter plugin. So I can change it later based on my requirement. Okay, let me change it as NOP Commerce Performance Test Plan. Okay, I'm just changing it some different name. So I don't need to use really the underscore and so on. So while recording, we saw some underscores we used, but later on we can change based on our. And here we can see some comment. By default, we got it from BlazeMeter plugin. So we can change this also. So what is the purpose of this, right? So like I can tell like N2 end-to-end performance scenarios. I'm just writing something. Okay, and the next one, right? So let me go next. So next one is like user-defined variables, right? So we can see user-defined variables here we have. So what is the purpose of these user-defined variables, right? So let's say I wanted to test my application, and I have to store some values, and that values I have to use throughout my test plan, right? So there are multiple requests. For all of those requests, I have to use the same variables. In that case, I can have this user defined variables, right? So this user defined variables I can have, right? So how can I store it? How can I store it? Right. So let me take it. So here, if you look at left side, we have something called as user defined variables separately also. What does this mean? This user defined variables is a config element where I can have it at test plan level, or I can drag and drop this at particular request or thread group or anywhere, however I want. See, if you look at here, it was there under plus plan. But what did I do is I just dragged and put under my request. That means these variable, whatever I am trying to have, these variables. So here I have a variable called base URL1, right? This is the name of the variable, and it contains a value called demo.nocommerce. Right? So what I'm doing here, instead of hard coding my domain or application URL in each and every request, right? So what does that mean is totally I have 3 requests. So this is the landing page request, search, and then navigate to some Apple iCam product page. So instead of I hard coding in each and every request here separately, right? What did we do is we have taken a separate config element called user defined variables, and there I have put it and with the name of variable. So this variable name I am trying to use it over here. Sorry. Right? So what I am trying to tell here is we can have these user defined variables at request level or thread group level. But if we want something, if we wanted to store the same variable globally, then we can put it as part of test plan. So in test plan, we can click on add, we can put the value, and we can have it as base underscore URL underscore one. So this is the name of the URL, right? So we can see here, right? So in that way, I can make this or any variables, this variable or any variables globally. That means if I have variables at test plan level, those variables will be accessible for all the thread groups, all the requests available under this test plan. That is the main purpose of this. Okay, so yeah, I hope it is clear. So any questions so far? I'm just reverting it back. Right, so it's up to us, right? So whether we have to store this variable globally or locally. So I'm just making it URL. Okay, so I just made it something, save it. Right, so what happens? So all the requests will be using this. So what did I do? I have a variable called demo.nodecommerce.com. This is the variable name. So I'm just copying this variable name and going to each and every request. So if we wanted to access the value present for this variable, then how to access that values, right? So to do that, we have to just write open and close curly braces, and in between that just write the name of the variable, right? So URL is the name of the variable, and we have to start that with dollar, right? So that means we are trying to access the URL from this particular test plan. Okay, the same way, let me save it and run so far. If that is working fine, then I can apply it for other requests also. So let me go to summary report. Sorry, yeah. Yes, I can see now commerce landing page is success. That means it has taken the URL, right? So it has taken the URL from the test plan, right? In the same way, let me do this change for all other. So let me stop before that. Just stopped it. So I'll just change it. Okay, in the same way, I'll change it over here also. Save it, clear the previous logs, click on run. So once I click on run, I can see again the reports should be success. That means to hit the request, it is trying to take the values from this particular variables, right? Let me go back to, yes, I can see it is green. That means it's trying to take the URL from the test plan. So that is a basic difference. So we have two types of user-defined variables, one at test plan level, another at other levels. Like it's up to us, like where we have to store. Yes, it's executing. Let me stop. Yeah, others are failing because of the assertion whatever we inserted last time. Okay, that's fine. See, it is responding 304, but we are expecting 200. So that's the reason it's failing. Okay, so it's returning. We are expecting 200, but it's returning 30. So that's the reason it's failing. Okay, right. So let me clear. Yeah. So we understood first three elements in the test plan. So name of the element test plan, comments we can change it accordingly. We can create our own user-defined variables. Okay. We can keep adding n number of variables like this. If you don't want, yes, go ahead and delete it. Right. So we can delete it if you don't. If you want, even we can keep on adding the different elements, the Jmeter test plan, right? So yeah, that's the third option. Yeah, next one is we have a checkbox in test plan, right? Run thread groups consecutively, right? So what does this mean, right? So if you look at our test plan, as of now we have only one thread group. Okay, but sometimes what happens is we may have another thread group also, right? So let me name this as thread group 1, and I'm just naming the another thread group as 2, right? In that way we can maintain multiple thread groups. It's not always mandatory that we have to use only single thread group. We can use multiple thread groups, and every thread group may have different set of requests or with different set of samples. Okay, now what did I do is whatever I have in thread group 1, same thing I have copy pasted, okay, with same request something, right? So now the point is whether we have to run both of these thread groups parallelly or sequentially, right? So if I check this checkbox, what happens is it will, first of all, it will execute the thread group 1 and then it goes to thread group, right? But by default it will not be checked. That means mostly when we use Jmeter, but what is the purpose of performance testing? To, in order to put the load with different set of scenarios at the same time onto the application or the server, right? That's the purpose, right? So by default we will go with parallelly only, right? But sometimes we may wanted to check some scenarios by going sequential. So that's the reason they have provided this option called run thread groups consecutive, right? One at a time, right? So this is the use case of this, right? So but let me okay, anyways, now what we have done is we have taken two thread groups. Okay, so yeah, so by default we did not check anything. So if I run it and if I go to summary report or view results tree, we can see almost both the thread groups will start executing at the same time. So now commerce landing page is started. It's very slow. Okay, yeah. So maybe yeah, when we look at this tree, we can see mostly it's sequential, but when we go with a good speed internet, so mostly it should be parallel. So no commerce landing page, no commerce landing page only we should see in first of all, and then it goes to the next set of requests. So that's how it should be. Yeah, but let's try the other way also. So here it takes because the assertions are failing. Here it is checking and because assertions are failing. Okay, anyway, so let it complete. Yeah, so that is